How's it going, guys? And welcome to my newly rebranded channel, If Cars Could Talk. In fact, well, this is probably one of my first real videos since the rebrand, and I have to thank all of you for the support thus far, but let me shut up for a second and get right into it. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm standing in front of our giant purple Rolls Royce Phantom. This car was, well, not only outrageous when it came out, but it was expensive too, at over $500,000. Now the crazy thing about that is, well, these were hypercar prices back then, and people were justifying it for, well, let's be honest, a glorified family sedan. But now, as many of you know, or car lovers know, we all scroll the internet looking for deals and prices on cars, well, let's be honest, all the time, even if girlfriends and wives aren't so fond of it. And these things can be had for a quarter of the price of that, which makes them quite a bargain because, well, you can essentially have 20 feet and 6,000 pounds of paint, leather, and wood. But just because you can afford to buy one doesn't mean you can afford to own one. Buyer beware. But for this video, well, I'm not going to go through the entire maintenance bill of the Rolls Royce Phantom, but I am going to focus on one of the most interesting aspects of its spending budget. The tires. And well, hold your breath because, well, for a set of them with install is up to $15,000. Alright, now before you theoretically slap me in the face, I have to preface a couple things. First, no, we didn't pay $15,000 for these. They were expensive, but of course we just went to Marshall's and we got them on discount. But in all seriousness, really, our dilemma derives from our own choice. We could find other rims which would accompany different tires. But you see, this is a special car that came with some special options. And no, we didn't just buy it so that we could go to Cars and Coffee and go, you know, they only made 35 of these. Now, allow me to just briefly tell you, well, what makes it special. Because yes, it essentially does look like a Phantom and it's not some race edition with a wing on it. What makes it special are a few specifications, otherwise known as specifications. I'm genius. Essentially, Rolls-Royce made this car to celebrate 100 years of Rolls-Royce. Or in other words, maybe the average age of a Rolls-Royce owner. But nonetheless, it's got some cool options. One of them is a $32,000 price tag for this paint. It's called Dark Curzon and it's essentially purple, which is kind of cool. Red pinstripes with contrast really nicely on the car. And obviously an interior color that matches, well, the exterior. In addition to that, though, it's got red badges. Now you're thinking, well, that's a bit strange. I've never seen it on a Rolls Royce. And it's for these 35 cars. Essentially, pre-1930s Rolls Royces had red badges, but the owners thought it was a bit crude, so they made them change them to black. But that's a bit ironic because, well, a Rolls Royce grille is kind of crude. And if only the Rolls Royce founders could see today, well, Rolls Royce is being chrome wrapped by YouTubers. But nonetheless, it's a special car for those reasons. But the main one, which is what we're circling around here, pun intended, is the wheels. This car came with these specific wheels. And not only that, it's the first Rolls Royce to have painted center caps with a pinstripe painted as well. And essentially this pinstripe is kind of crazy. You can actually feel it. And it was painted by, well, now a really old dude in the factory who has the steadiest hands and they have no arthritis. Well, I'm doing that pretty good. But essentially, yeah, it's nuts, this. And we don't want to lose that. It's special. But obviously, we don't have to pay a crazy price tag to keep them. Now, before you crucify me in the comments, I'm not just talking about, well, first world problems here and how much we can afford to pay for rubber. You see, I'm using this video as an interesting excuse to talk about a real problem Gen 1 Rolls Royce Phantom owners are having right now. You see, they don't make these tires anymore, and the first gen wheels are purposely designed to mate with the tires. If only I had an isolated tire to show you as an example. I totally forgot. We have the last two in the country. And what makes these so special, well, not only that they're basically a ton of rubber, it's a truck tire, but they're actually run flats, probably from the BMW influence in Rolls Royce. But in addition to that, well, as I said, they purposely mate to the wheel. Let me show you how. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can see, but there are actually grooves, vertical grooves in the tire, and they match the outer grooves on the wheel. So when you put it on here, it actually mates in the grooves, and you're actually supposed to use this to the wheel. Now, if you guys know or remember this, but that's the same thing you have to do with the Bugatti Veyron. So it's got a lot in common, but not only that, it has to use the same machine to mate the two. And there's only 2 of them in the state of California, and we're gonna go see one right now and see how it works. All right guys, we have just arrived at O'Gara, one of the locations that has that special tire machine, and coincidentally so, one of Floyd Mayweather's Rolls Royce Phantom limos, or should I say Rolls Royce Phantoms limos, because it's multiple Phantoms literally combined together. And interestingly enough, it actually has the old tires on it. So I thought it'd be an interesting example to show you a Phantom that still has these rare tires, but also just look at this thing. Gold everywhere, everything's tinted, blacked out, matched, and look how freaking long it is. I mean, if it's not long enough already, this thing is hilarious. Unbelievable. Right, so we're in the workshop right now. We're going to check out the system. So basically it needs to be set up though, correctly?
Yes, the machine needs to be set up, and Pete is using the machine right now. But it's a different setup to do the PAX tires, and here's a set of tires.
Basically the machine's over there, and there's a few different cars that you can do the PAX tires for, one of them being obviously Bugatti, which is pretty crazy over there, but I don't know if I'm really allowed to film that, unfortunately. And obviously the Rolls Royce Phantoms. These are actually some of the PAX tires. These are some of the wheels that take them as well. Looks like some Nissan wheels. And this is the machine that does it. Now, obviously there aren't many machines capable of doing it, and not only that, you have to set up the machine to do it. So things like these heads need to be changed. They have one of the heads down there, and it just takes a ton of power, a lot of distortion, and that tube that I showed you is actually a lubricant to help do it. So it's just a little more tricky than the average tire to put on, and you have to specially set up the system to do it. But that's why obviously these are starting to be discontinued, because, well, let's be honest, it's a business and they don't want to have it be extra difficult to have to just put tires on. It limits, well, the customer's ability to go anywhere and just do it. Now, an interesting anecdote is this is not the first crazy car to have its crazy tires discontinued. In fact, well, one of the most notorious ones was with the Lamborghini Countach, a car that had, well, fascinatingly wide tires, and you could no longer buy them anymore, so they became incredibly expensive to own, while the ones that remained. However, recently they were reintroduced to the market, and, well, all I can pray and hope for is that they'll do the same with the Rolls Royce Phantom. Right, we've been shuffling around cars, and believe it or not, we've managed to put this giant beast away for the night. And I say night because, damn, it's actually getting a little bit darker. I guess that's how long we've been talking about tires. Jesus, that's riveting. But anyway, guys, that is the rubber of the Rolls Royce Phantom. As expensive as probably that car is outrageous, but I just thought it was an interesting niche type of video because you don't really hear about crap like this, and probably for good reason. Owners are bitter, sad, and distressed, let's be honest. But, you know, it's kind of just a cool subject to talk about, and you never know what to expect with these cars, so you kind of have to hear it from people that, you know, live with them. Anyway, guys, if you want to see what type of equipment I use, check the Amazon links below. If you want to see where else to follow me on, I'm of course on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Guys, if you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.